Hey, family, welcome to the first ever episode of the Blessed Beyond Chaos podcast. I'm your host, Trent Brown, and this is a place where we can slow down, breathe, and remember that even when life feels wild or confusing, God is steady and faithful. Today's episode is called Just Trust Me, and if you've ever been confused, anxious, or unsure of what God is doing, I want you to lean in. This episode's for you. Part one of this episode is called The Story That Doesn't Make Sense. So we're going to start by going back to a moment in scripture that feels just as real today as it did thousands of years ago. It's in the book of Leviticus, chapter 25. This is when God tells Israel, do not touch the land in the seventh year. There's no planting, no turning the soil, no harvesting. And imagine for a moment, guys, working nonstop for 6 years, and then God tells you, take a whole year off. Most of us would stress over taking one weekend off, let alone an entire year. So the people asked the question all of us would ask, God, what are we supposed to eat? And God answers very, very, very quick. In Leviticus 25:21, he says, I will command my blessing. This wasn't about farming, it was about faith. And God wanted to show them your survival doesn't come from the ground, it comes from your God. And to help us see that this kind of faith isn't just in ancient history, we're going to hop into her story much closer to our time. The real life faith of Corrie ten Boom. Corrie ten Boom and her family hid Jews during World War II. They barely had food for themselves, and every day was a dangerous and every night was uncertain. Yet, Corrie's father kept saying this phrase, God will give us what we need when we need it. One night, everything ran out. There was no food, there was no plan, and they had no idea what was going to come next. And the same exact day, someone dropped a bag of potatoes. Remember that bag of potatoes for later on in this message. They dropped a bag of potatoes at their door. No name, no note, no explanation. Just God's quiet, precise provision. Corrie later on then wrote, faith is like a radar that sees through the fog. You see, Israel had empty fields. The 10 Booms had an empty kitchen. And we all have our own empty places. So the question becomes this, how do we trust God like that right here, right now, in our everyday lives? Living this out today, there's 3 practical ways we can trust God. 1, obey even when it doesn't make sense. Obedience usually comes before understanding, you guys. So let me make this real with some examples you'll probably relate to. Example A is giving when finances are tight. You feel God nudging you to give, but your first reaction is, God, I need a blessing myself. This is the last that I have. Yet you obey. And days later, money shows up in a way you did not expect. Maybe it was a refund. Maybe it's a bonus at work. Maybe it's a check or a random opportunity. That's not luck, you guys. That's obedience unlocking a blessing. Example B is apologizing even when you weren't the only one wrong. God pushes you to apologize even though the other person had a part in the conflict. Let's just say you obey and then tension begins to melt. Healing begins to start. A relationship begins to get restored because obedience does what pride can never do. Example C is serving when you feel empty. Maybe you're tired, maybe you feel unseen, but you choose to serve anyway. And in that moment, God refreshes you. Someone encourages you at the right time, or you feel a peace that wasn't there before. Obedience positions you where God can touch your heart. And as we obey, something powerful happens next. We start to see God provide. Expect God to provide, but in ways that's His and not yours. We often pray with a picture of how God should answer, but God rarely follows our script. And here's what this looks like in real life. Maybe the door that closed to protect you. You prayed hard for a certain job. You felt qualified. You thought it was the one, and then God closes the door. But then months later, a better opportunity opens. Maybe it was better pay, a healthy environment, more peace. See, God wasn't rejecting you. He was redirecting you. Maybe it was random help that wasn't random. You're worried about a bill and then a friend randomly pays for your meal. Or someone texts you an encouragement at the same exact moment you were ready to quit. Guys, that's not coincidence. That's strategy. That's God. Maybe it was strength instead of a solution. Sometimes God doesn't remove the problem. He strengthens the person to go through it. You wake up with peace that doesn't match your circumstance. You get clarity out of nowhere. You feel hope when yesterday you felt empty. Guys, that's called provision. And often before the biggest breakthroughs, God leaves a little reminders that he's close to us. You see, notice God's faithfulness in the small things. Big miracles usually start as small whispers. And here are the whispers: right place, right time. You run into someone you needed to see. The timing was perfect, and you instantly know God lined this up. Maybe it's unexpected peace in the storm. Nothing changed you and nothing changed around you, but something changed in you. That's God. Maybe it's little blessings you weren't expecting. A bill comes back cheaper. You find gas money in the coat pocket. Someone pays for your coffee. A verse pops up in the exact moment you need it. A heavy day suddenly feels light. Small things, but all pointing to a great God. These are the potatoes at the doorstep moments. Small reminders that God is paying attention to his children. And all these little moments lead us to one big truth: same God, same faithfulness. When you put all these stories side by side, Israel had empty fields, Corrie ten Boom's family had empty kitchen, your own empty moments, they all speak to the same message from God. And that message is this: you don't have to understand me, you just have to trust me. Israel trusted and the land produced. Corrie trusted and the food came. You trust and God will move. So if you take anything away today, I want you to take this away. Faith grows when you risk something for God. Faith grows when you obey before you see the outcome. And faith grows when you look at an empty place and still believe a harvest is coming. It's in those moments, guys, that God whispers, I will bless you. Just trust me. Thank you for listening to this episode of Blessed Beyond Chaos podcast. Again, I'm your host, Trent Brown. If today encouraged you, I want you to share it with somebody who needs a reminder that God is still faithful. We'll see you next time. Can't wait to have another conversation with you. God bless.